We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and secretary of the PGA of America, Don Ray.
Hello, everyone. It's the December 2022 episode of Golf Business Live, the final episode of the year. Welcome to our show. I'm Jay Karen, the CEO of NGCOA, and the ham to my egg is Don Ray, the owner of Augusta Ranch in Mesa, Arizona, and vice president of the PGA of America. Don, how are you today, my friend?
I'm still trying to, the ham to your eggs. Does that mean that I am a ham? I mean, is that what you're trying to say? I mean, I'm trying not to read into it. It sounds funny, but I still am like, is he taking a shot at me, this guy who's not even a PGA member yet? I mean, is that what he's doing? Because I'm the vice president, and I would think he'd be nice to the
Would you
leadership.
rather be the egg? I'll be the ham. You want to be the egg?
I'll be the ham. I'll be the ham. I am a ham, actually, so.
Yes, you are.
It's okay. I know I'm doing great. I'm, just got back from Frisco with all of our board training and incoming board of director orientations. We did some planning session talking a little bit about budgets. Fiscal year of the PGA of America is April 1 through March 31st. So good to get Nathan Carnes, our new secretary, in there and talk with the C-suite staff and things that we're doing. So got way behind on emails. I think sometimes they forget we have day jobs, that actually have a job already. But it's cool to see where the PGA is going. A lot of exciting things in the works. So
that's great.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about what's happening at the golf course soon. But first, let me thank our sponsor, Club Caddy, for sponsoring Golf Business Live this year. And great news that they're going to continue their sponsorship into 2023. So that sign behind me will stay lit, during our episode. So thank you to Jason Pearsall and his team. We really appreciate you. For everybody watching at home, whether it's through Facebook or YouTube, be sure you can type into the comments section and we'll see, any questions you have for Don and myself, and we'll surface the ones that are not profanity laced, and we'll answer your questions as best as we can. Like to give a shout out, actually, Don, to my 14-year-old son, Jonah, who's watching right now. And, so Jonah, if you've got questions for the dynamic duo here about what you're hearing in the golf industry, by all means, type in a comment and we'll show it live. So any big holiday plans, Don? Christmas is coming up this Sunday.
Katie's coming home from college from Bowdoin. So excited to see her tonight, pick her up at the airport. I really miss her. Karen and I, we're empty nesters right now. So, FaceTime's obviously a great invention and it's good to see her, but it's better to hug her. So I'm waiting for her to come in, and excited to spend some time with her and put some of this PGA stuff in the trunk of the car so that I can focus on my family a little bit. But we run two golf courses. We run Shalimar. It's a little 9-hole facility, and had the staff party last night here at Augusta Ranch in the Top Tracer, and did something called the cellophane ball. Have you ever seen that, where they wrap a bunch of stuff in like shrink wrap, and then you got to roll the dice, and if you roll the double, the ball moves. But anything that flies out of this thing as you're undoing it with mittens, you got oven mittens on, you get to keep. Never done it before, but it was cool because what's great about golf, Jay, is that, Shalimar's a little 9-hole facility, and that staff is like a family. And when I looked up and down the table, there was a 70-year-old lady, there was a 60-year-old man, there was an 18-year-old kid, there was about 4 or 5 young ladies, ranging in, 20 to 35. And it's just like, only in golf do you bring all these different demographics and psychographics and ages and genders. There were 3 African Americans. It was just like, this is what golf is. This is what I see. And it just was cool. I don't know why, but I had this kind of reflective moment while we were just laughing, doing this stupid cellophane ball thing. And I'm like, wow, look at all the different people at this table. This is great.
That's good. That's good to hear. We had a staff party this last week and had a wonderful time together. And our staff member, Harry, kind of broke out the piano and we sang songs. It was a lot of fun. A good year to celebrate the association and the industry for sure. And I want you to be thinking about what your New Year's resolutions are, Mr. Ray, because I want to hear about those.
Ooh, I've got some. I definitely have some. But first, I have to say, because I'm trying to do more on LinkedIn. I try to spread some more love on there, and I try to do the IG thing. I know I'm a little old for IG, Instagram, but I'm committed to trying to get 10,000 followers before I'm president of the PGA. And but I was on LinkedIn and I saw your story about, what was his name, Adressa Gundega, who's like a golf coach. I'm not even talking about you running 3.5 miles to go see him, but something that it was kind of interesting to, how do you meet? How'd you meet him? And how did he? It was kind of fascinating.
Well, to go along with your story, golf is the great connector. I have a good friend, Chuck Fazio, and Chuck is a professional photographer, among many other things. He actually shot the multi-course owner retreat when we had it in 2016 at Bayonne Golf Club for us. And so he does a lot of association photography, and he was at an association event not long ago. I think it was the National Association of Independent Schools, all the private schools out there. And this young man, Adrissa, was getting a headshot done because Chuck does this thing called the Headshot Lounge at association meetings to give people new professional headshots. So Adrissa was in line and he had his Columbia Prep golf logo on his sweatshirt. And so Chuck sees golf and says, "Oh, wow," and engages in conversation with Adrissa and immediately picks up on what a special guy this is. Just the energy that he puts out is amazing. And he's a 28-year-old immigrant from Mali in Africa. And he's the prep school's PE teacher and golf coach. And so seeing golf, Chuck says, "I got someone I need to introduce you to." And I'm his golf guy, his golf friend, right? And so he introduces us over email. And I'm like, "Oh, sure, of course." As we are in this industry, we, with golf being the connector, we always say yes. Whether someone's, "Hey, let's play golf together. Let's meet." We always say yes. And so I'm like, "Hey, Adrissa would love to meet you. I'm going to be in Manhattan next week of all things." So I basically, like I said in my LinkedIn post, I jogged this, it was 28 degrees out, and I jogged up to the west side where right a block from his school, there's a coffee shop, and we sat down and we talked for a good long hour about him, what his aspirations are, what he loves, and what he's doing. And of course, my wheels are moving about this guy needs to be in the golf industry. And you can read about his short story on my LinkedIn post, but he's an exceptional young man. And obviously, we want to improve diversity in our industry in many ways. And I'm thinking PGA of America, we got to get him on a career track. And so and one thing that he and I discussed, actually, my son Jonah watching this, I think he'll appreciate this conversation. Jonah asked me, a few months back, maybe in the spring, he said, "Dad, what is the difference between, a successful person and those who aren't?" And I said, "Well, besides privilege, if you put privilege notwithstanding," I said, everybody has this internal voice when they see opportunity, when they see things that they want to do. And that internal voice kind of does this risk calculation, like, imagine if I did that, whatever that aspiration may be. And most people don't act on that voice. And the successful people do something, put into action something related to that thought that internal voice has. And Adrissa is that kind of young man. And we discussed that. He and I discussed that about these thoughts. Like, what do we do? What's the action step we can take based on this wonderful conversation? Because John, we could have left the conversation saying, "You know what? It was great meeting you. If you ever want a career in golf, come talk to me and we'll figure something out." So no, what we did was we took it to action. We said, "Look, let's get you to the Golf Business Conference and the PGA Show next month. Can you get professional personal leave and come down for the week?" And he said, "I think I can." And he emailed me later, says, "I'm there." And the LinkedIn post, we have some people saying in their comments, "I would like to sponsor his flight. I would like to sponsor this." Wow. And so we got people coming up and that are going to help underwrite his trip. He's got permission. He's going to be down there all week. He's going to shadow me. He's going to come to the leadership meetings. He's going to meet people. I'm going to introduce him to the PGA Reach team to get him started in thinking about what a career would be in this space. And I even asked him, because he teaches and he coaches, I said, could you see intuitively, could you see being a golf instructor, a coach, or, being accomplished in that, or being an accomplished golf course operator? And he got back to me and he said, 'cause I'm thinking the tracks immediately, the PGA education. He got back to me. He said, "Why not all of the above?" I'm like, "Oh, I love this kid. Love this kid." So I'm like, "All right, good." So we're going to make several introductions and allow him to really be introduced to the industry in a big, proper way and see where it goes. Because he's not thinking I want to be a PE coach for the rest of my career. He's very open to ideas. And so, so I felt it was incumbent upon me, when you see great talent, to try to make connections, to try to do things as best as we can. So the story is a good one so far, and we'll see where it goes. But those of you coming to the PGA show, expect to see Coach Candega, next by my side and out there meeting people and doing things during the week. And make sure you say hello to him when you see him. So yeah, pretty cool story.
It's a great story. It just shows, like what you did. The best part of the story, I mean, one, you went to go see him, right? I think, which is cool. But how many times do all of us just go, hey, call me anytime, if you ever want to talk, and maybe I could give you some direction, and they never call. I say that to PGA professionals all the time. And I'm like, I need to specifically say, okay, are you available Tuesday, 2:00? Let's meet for coffee, whatever it is. You're right. If you don't have an action item right after that, it just gets lost, and maybe you feel better, but nothing changed. You didn't get to that next step. I mean, for him getting to the show, I can't wait to meet him. But, kudos to you, Jay. I wish you're a PGA associate. I mean, I know you're CEO of the NGCOA and you're killing it there. I just love what you do with the organization. I know the board loves what you're doing also. But, as somebody who just loves the game of golf, if this was the cure, why wouldn't you be telling everybody about it, right? I mean, if we know that it changes lives, we know that hope saves lives, right? Our PGA Hope program. But way to make it happen, Mr. PGA Associate. I'm very proud of you.
Oh man, that's the fun part. To me, that's just fun, to be able to help people in this way and see what happens. Honestly, he probably wouldn't need my help. This is the kind of guy that just will make an amazing life on his own. But if I can steer him in our direction, I think we benefit, and so that's really why I'm doing this. But anyway, cool story. But all right. So I want to hear a little bit about what's happening with the Toptracer range installation. You had an opening night, and I did. That's kind of one of those threads that we talk about on this show. I want to hear, now that you're kind of up and running, talk to us.
Yeah, I'm always going to tell the truth. I mean, sometimes on Facebook you do these great videos and they look like there was never any issues whatsoever. But I think as all of us golf course owners, PGA pros know that the audibles in life are the ones that kind of get you the touchdown. Sometimes it's not what you thought was going to happen. It's how you dealt with what actually happened. And so, yeah, we're up and running. I mean, the November 11th grand opening was spectacular. There were some things that should have been in place before that didn't happen just because of the supply chain and some of the vendors we're dealing with, unfortunately. But did anybody know or care that day? They didn't. I had 21 veterans and we did the 21 base salute, and there's a great video. If you go to my website, Don Ray PGA, well, actually you can go to AugustaRanchGolf.com too. We put the video on there, but I still have my campaign website up because I put our podcasts on there. And so if you go to DonRayPGA.com, you can see the video of our grand opening of Toptracer. But it was really patriotic. It was awesome. I announced the 21 veterans, and they were also proud to do this ceremonial simultaneous tee shot out of the Toptracer base. And so, up and running. We had actually kind of been in a soft opening a month before that. The way I did it, and there's some pictures they're going to show, Taylor's going to show us all, but, I didn't want to put mats right on top of the concrete. I wanted the mats to be on top of some turf, and so you can kind of see there to the left. We put in the pavers. So that is almost like where you see the artificial turf. That is like a tee line at a private club. It's just a nice, very sturdy, strong, resilient turf, right? But I never intended to hit off of that. I ordered mats from Turfhound, and we're just still waiting for those. Unfortunately, there's just supply issues. And but the whole idea was I wanted from the restaurant look that, the non-golfers would just see green, and then they'd see these mats on top of the green, and it would be great. That patio furniture right there, some of that recycled wood stuff, got it on Amazon. That stuff lasts forever. We all know that. You don't have to paint it because once you paint it, it just starts peeling. So really excited. But the two vendors that we're hurting right now is we ordered the middle bays that we have. We have 21 bays. That's actually a flyer there. We had the 21 days of Christmas. We're still in that. Every day there's a contest on Toptracer that you can compete against anybody who shows up that day. And we're giving out rounds of golf and trying to convert top golfers into golfers. And so we're going to continue to use contests to get people interested in it. And using Instagram. My business partner, Kurt Hudek, has done a good job in taking my place as trying to be the social media star of Augusta Ranch. And reluctantly he started, but now he's engaged in it. We had a video, we had an Instagram reel that had 2,000 views of it, which we only have 1,000 followers. So excited about that. But we haven't really, Jay, activated the entire non-golfer approach to this, because what happens at golf courses, I think, who really embrace Toptracer, is they start just emailing out and notifying all their golfers that, hey, we have Toptracer. Well, that is just the tip of the iceberg of what Toptracer is about. It's not about good golfers getting better. It's about bringing new golfers to the game, in my opinion. Yep. Those pictures that Taylor showed, the full coverings, the monitors, the patio furniture, all that stuff is to make it enticing and something that if a family shows up, I want mom to go, oh, I can see myself there. I mean, the lighting, obviously at night, we have extra bright lighting, so it looks inviting. It looks like what we're doing. So really the whole thing is to make a mini Topgolf at a golf course. And so the middle bays, what I think some Toptracer people are doing wrong, and I actually talked to Callaway about this, I actually talked to Chip Brewer about it, is that some are just doing just enough to get the cameras in. And I think that's a mistake. You certainly, if you're a private club and you're deciding between TrackMan and Toptracer, I think Toptracer with the games and stuff, I think is going to be great. I like to leverage that brand at Topgolf. But I think what I love about the Toptracer product is that it's based on families. But if you're just using the app, you get to see your ball flight and ball speed and curve and all this stuff. But the games are where it's at. So if you're not building bays with room for patio furniture, I see a lot of Toptracer areas, Jay, they're doing 9-foot bays. I think it's really tight to do 9 foot. That extra foot of 10 foot makes a difference. We've got 6 bays that are 12 feet where we're putting in full patio furniture, 3-inch cushions, sturdy, really heavy. So it's going to be hard for somebody to steal it if they try to. But I'm waiting on that custom furniture, kind of bummed. It should have been here a month ago. I'm on that vendor. I'm waiting on the Turf Hound mats, kind of bummed. I mean, we're hitting off that turf that you saw, but it's getting beat up because Toptracer people are terrible golfers. They are not good. Where that turf would survive forever at a private club where guys know how to play and gals know how to play, Toptracer not making it. We got dense. I mean, it's compacted aggregate, right? That's what the turf goes on, just like a putting green, an artificial grass putting green. But there's dents in it. It's got some rips in it now. Even though I was told it would never rip, it's got rips in it, and it's a bummer. But we never intended to hit off of that for this long. We thought we'd have the mats by now. So working closely with Turf Hound to get my mats, that's going to be a game changer, and getting that patio furniture. So right now, I guess to end up my story, is that families are coming out, super exciting. Haven't even really marketed to them, just marketing to golfers right now, but already seeing an uptick in food and beverage. My range revenue at the same time last year, I think was, for like 3 weeks, it was 10,000. This year it was 20,000. So it's already doubled my range revenue, and I haven't really activated the scale of the non-golfers and I think the social media channels. So it's still a work in progress. It will continue to be, but we are, weathering some of the challenges, but so excited to see. I mean, I'll tell you one. I know I'm talking too much, probably, Jay, but I have that problem.
Well, you're a ham. It's okay.
I am the ham, but I guess I just admitted it. But yesterday, I'm walking up and down the bays, and I meet this young man. He's like 14, 15, young, and he's hitting balls, and he's not playing one of the games. He's just doing the warm up. I go, hey, let's do a game. We can play against each other. Let's do it close to the pin, and I introduced myself as the owner, and then somebody else came up to me and said, hey, Don, congratulations on being vice president. And he's like, you're vice president of what? I said, PGA of America. He's like, the whole PGA of America? I go, yeah. He was, why are you here? This is where I work, John. And we had some shots together. He took a picture of me, and I'm like, all right, if you put this on Instagram, you got to put my handle on there, Don Ray PGA. But I love walking up and down the line and talking to people. It is fruitful and just encouraging. As when you were talking to Adressa, those conversations can happen every day at our golf course, and certainly if you have Toptracer.
I love it. I love it. This is great. In fact, I can't wait to hear more about this in your Wednesday session, the morning educational session at the Golf Business Conference and PGA Show. We're going to dive deep into this stuff. We got a whole hour or more just on golf entertainment and the real story of what it takes to do this, to operate it, and to make it happen. We got Sean Hansen from Top Tracer Range and Ken Reynolds from About Golf that will be coming to join us. So it's going to be great event. So speaking of the Golf Business Conference, registration is still open. It's about 5 weeks away. Golfbusinessconference.com, and we're going to open the event this year with a really fun event with a PGA Tour veteran, Peter Jacobsen. Taylor, roll the sneak preview as to what the opening night is going to be like at the Golf Business Conference.
Hi, I'm Peter Jacobsen, and welcome to Match Play. Do you love golf?
Ben Hogan.
Bay Hill.
Lee Trevino.
Bill Murray.
We've created golf's first game show just for you. This is Match Play. I'm going to name a character from a golf movie, and you have to tell me the actor's name who played that character. Number 1, Bagger Vance. James.
Will Smith.
Correct, you got it. She is the winningest LPGA player of all time.
Kathy Whitworth.
That's correct, Sean. This is known by many as the 19th hole.
The bar.
JM. The bar.
The bar.
Exactly right. Have you ever been to the 19th hole?
Many a time.
Is that the best hole you play on the course?
Absolutely.
Good. He founded the golf company known as Ping. Penny.
Carsten Solheim.
Carsten Solheim is correct. We are looking for those that know golf, the Nicholas of knowledge. She shot 59 in 2000.
Annika.
Very good. I didn't get to finish the question.
Annika
You got
Sorensen.
it. You got it. The Tiger of Trivia. The AT&T. Amy.
Pebble Beach.
She got it. We're looking for the Annika of answers. This network launched in 1995 with Arnold Palmer as chairman. Kaylee.
Golf Channel.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
I think you won the U.S. Open in that movie.
But I'm upset because the USGA does not recognize that win on my Wikipedia page.
All right, Tin Cup.
Kirk, I want to make sure that your buzzer works. Can you hit it? Oh, it can't. It does. So
He's live.
Is there a problem that you haven't hit the buzzer yet?
Yeah, they're just, these guys are pretty quick.
What's your handicap?
Hi.
High? Hi.
Hi.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Yeah, this is
Are
great.
you mesmerized?
Mm-hmm.
Did you take your medication this morning?
No.
Did not?
Did not.
Do you need
I
us to
forgot.
get you anything? Do you like golf? I love golf. We want to test your knowledge about the game that we know and love. So we hope you join us right here on Match Play.
Fantastic. So at the opening evening, we're going to have the audience participate in a culling process where they're going to answer trivia questions. And then I think we're going to narrow it down to 6 and bring them up on stage. It should be a really good time. So we would love to see the industry, come to the Golf Business Conference and the PGA Show. Registrations are looking pretty good right now. So we're excited about gathering, because even last year, COVID was still lingering and causing people to stay home because we saw a surge right around this time last year. So I'm anticipating a pretty darn good turnout. So we look forward to that. But for the rest of our show, Don, I got a kind of bit of a potluck today, just like a good holiday party potluck. We're going to go left. We're going to go right. We got some topics here based on some industry articles that have come out recently, industry stats. And I want to get your take on some of these things. Okay. So let's start out with maybe the most interesting one. Michael Williams, our good friend that's a writer and podcaster, at NGCOA with our stuff. He had an article that came out called 420, F-O-R-E. 420, is golf ready for recreational marijuana? All right, Don Ray. Okay, so it's legal recreationally now, like in 20-something states. And, the laws are all different. There's no standardization here. But, we're just, Wayne Gretzky, would say, we got to skate to where the puck is going. The puck is there. It's there now, right? It's legal. But I have not heard much conversation in our industry, except for a couple of golf business articles we've put out there about the intersection of cannabis and golf, and toking, lighting up on the golf course or what have you. And I mean, I'm sure it's got to happen out there anyway, legal or not. But, what's our posture towards this? I don't know. Is it legal in Arizona recreationally? And what are you seeing?
Oh, yeah, it's legal out here in Arizona. Maybe I should have been given these questions before. I had no idea where you were going with this. But, it's funny. I will tell one quick story. When I was running Eagle Mountain, our 18th hole was 420 yards. And it was a little stone, kind of flagstone tee marker, and it used to get stolen all the time. And I'm like, why is somebody stealing the marker? I mean, all the other markers on the golf course. And then finally someone said, 420, man, that's marijuana. And I said, you're kidding me. Let's change the hole to 419. I changed it to 419. No one ever stole the marker again. But, you're right. It happens a lot. I think am I going to sell it in my golf shop? No. I mean, am I going to sell some of those drops and patches and whatever that helps the aches and pains of the golfer of Augusta Ranch because they're typically in their 60s, 70s, and 80s? Yeah, I don't mind, selling some of that stuff. But, it's so different now. I think it used to be when you were smoking a joint, right? You could smell it and there was smoke and you knew exactly what was going on. Now these kids are just hitting pins. I mean, they're just little cartridges that they're buying at the recreational marijuana store, or the gummies and all that stuff's happening. I've never been one to do that. To be honest with you, I've never had a gummy of with cannabis in it. This is where I'm conflicted on the whole marijuana thing. I think, hey, if something lets you relax, and people have been drinking alcohol for a long time, and my buddy who was a cop always said, I've never had a big fight with somebody who was stoned, but I've had lots of fights with guys that were drunk. And so it definitely stones, kind of brings you down. Now, I do caution, in effect, that it's not a motivating factor. We just talked about that if you're going to be successful in this business, you've got to do something. You've got to get out of bed. You've got to make your bed, like Admiral McRaven says. But sometimes, from what I see of the people I know that smoked a bunch of weed, they're not the most, out there go-getter people in the world. So I do worry about that. But I beat around the bush enough, but I'll answer the question. I think it's going to happen on the golf courses. In Arizona, it's legal. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't even pre-drug test any of my employees anymore. If there's an accident, there's always a post-accident drug test that happens with every employee here, but there's just no fighting it. Everybody's using it, and they're doing it all the time. And as long as they're not doing it on the clock, I sometimes wonder when the same kid's out there picking the range all the time, is that his time to kind of put his AirPods in and take a couple hits from his little marijuana pen? I think it's happening. I don't know. A lot of guys want to pick the range all of a sudden. I mean, it's constant battle as a golf course owner. But the answer is I'm not going to sell it. To me, I'm not going to go through your bag. If whatever you're doing is, as long as, whether it's music, whether it's drinking, or whether it's marijuana, as long as you're not ruining everybody else's time, then come and do it and have a good time, but just don't ruin somebody else's.
A very libertarian view. Live and let live. Right? I love it.
Yeah, until but the freedom to swing your fist ends where the other guy's nose begins. Right? That's one of my favorite quotes. And yeah, so just if I start smelling it and I'm with my daughter, like, dude, back off. I don't need you doing that right now. I'm a family place.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an interesting thing that we should surface stories, because really what happens is when we hear stories, like when something goes wrong and then everybody wants to then operationalize around what went wrong. I think that's what we have to be on the lookout for is what's going well, what's going not so well in that space. Because it's a reality. We were just, that New York City trip. It's funny because, smoking cigarettes has become passe in so many ways, right? And you hardly smell it like you used to. You almost forget what it was like, but the aroma of American cities was cigarette smoke, just walking around, and then it's kind of gone away. And now the new urban aroma is cannabis. You walk around New York City, you walk around Chicago, you walk around places where it's legal and you cannot escape it. It's just now becoming part of the cultural norms and what have you. And it's going to be interesting to see how this develops, but certainly we need to monitor any stories around this. So if you hear any stories around this, let us know. We want to run articles on that. So
yeah, I'd love to hear those stories. Yeah, I will say one thing. It's just a fact. Our PGA Hope are helping our Patriots everywhere. the veterans who are coming out to Augusta Ranch. I know a lot of them do it because it's helping them, right? It's prescribed, and it's if that calms them down, that gets them out of their house and not committing suicide, and they know that I'm not gonna judge them if they're doing that while they're here at the golf course, because that's what's allowing them to be here. Well, then, I hope that nobody ever would think, oh, Don's a family golf course, they can't do it. Listen, we're a veterans golf course too, and if that's what it takes to get them out here, well, then whatever, let them get out here, because I know that if I get them playing golf, it's going to change their life.
Yeah, good stuff. It's all about risk management too, because I mean, there's going to be an operational question about risk management, just like alcohol. If you overserve, you're liable, right? If you there's just a lot of questions around this I think we need to stay ahead of. So Taylor Wall, you're watching this, make sure that we stay ahead of this and educate our industry on this particular topic. Okay. Swerving now way to the right, I want to talk about credit card processing. Okay. And kind of where we are. This industry is evolving. And, I wrote an article of my kind of end of the year Golf Business Magazine outlook about things that I love that I see happening in the industry and things that concern me. And one of the concerns I have is what I call the coziness between the merchant processing business and the golf management software business, or some call it the POS systems and so forth. And, and then there's the whole surcharging phenomenon of passing that along to your customer, which I've got some thoughts about that too, as well. I'm okay with surcharging, certainly, but there's a caveat in there I want to make sure members don't get in trouble with. But so my concern here, Don, and this is no surprise to you, you're very well informed on this industry, is that back in the old day, if you wanted to switch credit card processors, you just switched. The new guy that came to town that said, I can offer you better rates, and here's the equipment, and because the swiping was segregated from the software system, and there was probably a way to integrate it some way, but they were pretty separate. Now it's really baked into the software, and what we're seeing is some software companies do business with just one. In some cases, the merchant processing is part of who they are, part of their business. And so they've become the gateway or the merchant processing system as well. The problem with this I see is a few things. One is there's going to be more and more charges instead of cash coming down the road. There's no question about it, with more online booking. And those in online booking is the card not present transaction, which is the higher fee transaction, and then someone that hands the card, to you across the counter. Mm-hmm. So a golf course owner and operator, their merchant processing fees naturally are just going to rise as a cost of doing business the more people are charging. The problem is that when you have only one merchant processor choice in your software system, you don't have the ability to say, oh, wait a second, I want to bring in this other guy that's offering me a better rate into the software system. The software company may say, maybe not so much. We like our partner. They're going to give you the best rate. And, when it costs us money to service, an addition, which it does, integrating two is work and costs. I don't know if it's enormous costs, the software companies are likely benefiting financially from the swiping. And that leads me to a business philosophical problem, in that software companies that when they charge their fees, it's based on a value of what they're providing to the golf course, the features in their software, the reliability of it, the service, all of these things. And when they're also making money on the merchant processing side of it, and your course, let's say Don, is up 20%, and they're getting, then your software company might be getting a 20% raise because you're doing 20% better. And that has nothing to do with the value that they provide you in the software itself. And I have reason to believe that some of the software companies now are making more money on their merchant processing side of the business than they are on the subscription side of what they charge you for the software. And I love all the software companies out there. I'm bullish on this. That I like what they're doing and the competitive nature and the features that they're offering, but I'm very concerned about where this is going, and that the golf course owner operator who we represent is the one that's going to be the victim of this kind of new business philosophy. So what do you think on that?
Well, obviously, I'm a little gun shy on all that stuff because of ETS. Remember, ETS was the mandatory credit card processor for IBS. IBS back in the day was the gold standard of point of sales, right? I mean, you were 3 clicks away from checking somebody in, and they were just an amazing software company back in the day. And so everybody just went to ETS, and it turned out if you don't have choices, you don't know what's going to happen. I completely agree. I mean, I don't know, nobody, maybe it's in the small print of the document that they're making a little money off of us, off the credit card company. I remember when I was running Eagle Mountain, Heartland payroll company, they was free. But then it turned out when I talked to the controllers, because Heartland was doing our credit card transactions, so the free software wasn't free, and they were charging 3.5%. And when we were pumping $6 million a year through, and 90%, let's say 85% of that was credit cards. I mean, now I got $3.5 million that's going, and I'm paying an extra percentage on it. That would send me to Hawaii with Karen, and we could have a great vacation. So I think certainly when you're a golf course owner, these little percentages start to add up. But to your point, like right now, I'm with Club Profit, and they're switching over. They want me to switch to the credit card companies, and I'm pushing back a little bit because, I've got those reoccurring passes. So I've got 100 people that I hit their credit card every month. Then I've got all the other bank accounts that I somehow have to point to in the right direction. It's just never as easy as they say it is when you switch credit card processing. And typically, I just always wonder, when they do the assessment and you send them your bills, they always say that there's going to be a savings. But, later on when somebody else says, hey, have you checked it? It turns out they can save you too. So it's like initially there's certain charges that maybe I'm not paying. And then as I just kind of, don't think about it much, it's almost like that janitorial crew. Every time you get a new janitorial company at a golf course, they knock it out of the ballpark for 5 months. And then after that, they just don't do the job anymore. You almost feel like you have to switch janitorial companies every 6 to 12 months because they just don't do as good a job as they used to. But I think you're onto something as far as there has to be choices. I don't think it's fair for a credit card processing company to say this is who you're going to use, because it's not necessarily, the fees themselves. There's always going to be somebody disputing it, right? And what I find with the bigger companies is when I go to dispute, I never even have a chance of winning that dispute, even when I've proven that it wasn't a duplicate charge. Because this is what happens at Augusta Ranch, Jay. Got 80-year-old men, they pay for their golf, and then their buddy comes in and says, oh, you were supposed to pay for mine. He pays for his golf. His wife looks at the credit card statement and says, that's a duplicate charge. Augusta Ranch shouldn't have charged that. So they dispute it with their credit card company. They automatically take it out of my account right away. And now I have to defend that, hold a second, that wasn't a duplicate transaction. The guy just paid for him and his buddy, and that's why they're the exact same amount. So these big companies don't care about my dispute resolution. They don't care about me losing these claims. And some people get onto that, and then they start disputing more. And so service in the credit card industry is not just fees. It's also when I got to change something, there's an issue, who do I call? Because right now it's a maze, and you never do get to a real person. And when they do, they're like, oh, well, that's not our account. It's somebody else's account. So I would say to the point of sales out there, you should at least give every operator a couple choices, just because that's the American way. And if you're just saying you have to do it with this company, my rate, I'm just the hair on the back of my neck starts to stand up, because the last time that happened, those guys are in a Department of Justice lawsuit right now.
Yeah, choice is, there's nothing more American than, allowing companies to compete for your business, and the customer ends up benefiting from that competition as well. What I just don't like about this movement or this direction is simply, it's kind of like barter. It's like there are people who say, what, how can we make more money off of the golf course owner out of the ecosystem? And I get it. If you're in the business of income, you're trying to figure out how to raise revenue, right? But this feels akin to that barter situation where it's like, how can I get more out? How can I get more revenue out of this? And there's not a requisite or a commensurate service that comes with that justifies that fee, right? And so that's what I'm worried about here. It just doesn't feel that my spidey sense is telling me something here, Don. And so we're gonna do more with the sector on this, just to make sure this. I think it's harmless to offer choice into the system. All right, that's really
why. I have to. I got to give a shout out there. We're always trying to be candid on the show, but I've been using Quick 18 for a long time. Obviously, they turned into Sagacity, and I've gone back and forth with Harvey a little bit lately on some emails about how the Gallus golf app is better than the Sagacity golf app, and they're competing products, which you and I both love. Let the products compete against each other, because the consumer wins and the golf course owner wins. But something that Gallus doesn't offer that Quick 18 does is golf cash. And so golf cash is just like Starbucks money at a golf course. And certainly Brett and Mike, they charge me a percentage when somebody loads up Golf Cash. I give them 10% more. It's kind of like a Dave and Buster's thing. You put $100 on, I'll give you 110, automatically written in a little 10% discount for my regulars. That money can pay each other's bets. You can buy it using in my restaurant. It is Augusta Ranch money. It's Augusta Ranch money. And there's breakage on that. And so now that we've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, I'm looking at the breakage, and that tender option is now better than any tender option I have. It's even better than cash, because the breakage is actually negating the percentage I'm paying to Golf Cash. So I think every golf course owner should look into that. I think Quick 18's onto something, because all of my regulars are using Golf Cash, Augusta Ranch Cash, and they're going through a lot of it. But all I know is I'm running the numbers, because that's prepaid revenue in my QuickBooks account. I convert it into a tender based on the transaction report I run off my point of sale. And the delta is the breakage. And over the last 2 years, that breakage is easily covering the cost of goods of that tender option. So, maybe something to look into.
That's good. One last note on I mentioned on the surcharging, where, businesses are passing along the fee, the transaction fee, 2, 3, 4%, whatever the cap is I just want to remind any viewers out there that you cannot surcharge on debit card transactions. That's a federally, regulated law. And so I think, so you got to make sure your system is set up so that if it knows that this is a debit card, it does not offer the surcharge to back to the customer to pay. You has to be able to know the difference. Otherwise you could be liable, down the road. We don't want that to happen. So I just wanted to make sure that we put that out there. Okay. Switching directions on you again, Don Ray. So the NGF just reported that 54 new courses are being built, with 38 kind of in the planning pipeline. And it's a 55% uptick. But the profile of all these courses, really, I think they call them specialty, very high-end projects, private clubs and, resort kinds of things. What do you think that says right now about the exuberance around golf, which we saw 20 years ago? Certainly. I mean, we're still in this correction where more courses are closing than opening. So it's not flipping yet, or may not. But, what do you think this is saying about the exuberance around golf right now through COVID with regard to these new developments?
Well, I mean, I think it's, I live in the Southwest, right? And water is a big issue. So I think new golf courses being built in Arizona is probably over. I don't see any golf courses built out here. Hey, at the end of the day, I'm vice president of the PGA, and I'm also a golf course owner. But if I put on my vice president of the PGA hat, I'm looking for jobs out there for golf professionals, and the more courses, the more jobs. That being said, everybody's looking for assistant golf professionals right now, because nobody, we haven't paid our assistant golf professionals like they should have been paid. We haven't incentivized them for growing the game and giving lessons and signing up new members. And so I love the fact that there's exuberance in golf again. I went to enough golfing conferences and golf business conferences, and NGC, everything that I've gone through, and it was depressing, because all of the capital, all the money, the VC money just stopped flowing into golf. And that's a bad thing. And golf courses were closing at an amazing rate of 2 a week. And so that was, depressing. But it also was bringing back this, to your point, we have too many golf courses. And golf courses, Pellucid's done a great job of saying, this is about how many golf courses can actually survive in that market based on play rates, velocity, and the things that they measure. So adding more golf courses into the field kind of, I think, is a little scary. There's plenty of golf courses out there that just need to be managed a little bit better. So I don't know. I guess I'm torn a little bit on this one. Like I said, I want to see more jobs for PGA professionals, but the ones that have jobs right now aren't getting paid enough. So if these new golf courses are really going to invest in human capital along with building a new golf course, well, then I'm all for it. Are they going to change the way in which we service our customers? Even with Top Tracer right now, Jay, I got caught into it again of like, okay, our outside service staff, hey, talking to my business partner, Kurt, I'm like, our outside service staff needs to be talking to these people in the Top Tracer bays and explaining to them to get it on their phone, get the app on their phone so they can play the contests. And so once again, I get into this 17-year-old kid is now going to be the person interacting with all the golfers in Top Tracer. And I'm like, what am I doing? This is exactly what we've talked about on the show not to do. I need a PGA professional out there walking the line, talking about the games, competing against them like I did with Jung yesterday. And so I don't know, I went on a tangent there because it's not necessarily building more courses. Great. If that shows that our game is a little more healthy than it used to be, that's great. But if we don't change the way in which we're delivering the experience of golf, and don't put in the top tracers and just take for granted this spike in rounds, we're going to be in the same spot that we were after the Tiger bump went. So are you building golf courses because golf is booming? You're building golf courses to make some money and sell more homes? Because I see building actually happening a little more out here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And that's what really encouraged the demand for the supply problem we had out here. So glad golf's healthy, Jay, but if we don't fix how we deliver the experience, will quickly take away our health and we'll be sick again.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of housing development tied to, although some of it I think involves probably real estate and so forth, but it's certainly not going to be the home builders driving this rise in supply like we saw 20 years ago or so. But standing at 30,000 feet in the air, I'm looking at these movements and like, okay, so the courses that are closing are more likely going to be lower end, courses, whereas Joe Bettis like to say the dirt is worth more than the grass. Maybe the lower green fee, bunny slopes, if you will. That's been a trend, I think, the profile that has been closing, and we got only the elite courses opening. And so when we look at that, it's like, well, where are going to be the more affordable places to play? What's happening here, and at the same time, I'm seeing this kind of renaissance in the municipal golf sector. Like they're really getting the light, on them as a quality product, but still kind of an affordable thing. I went to the National Links Trust Symposium about a month and a half ago or so. In fact, that's where I got this little sucker right here. But, it's they're trying to revitalize the 3 golf courses in Washington, D.C., the municipal courses, a private kind of nonprofit thing trying to raise millions of dollars to revitalize this. But they're giving a platform for municipal golf to kind of tell its story, which, it's a complicated thing with NGCOA because their municipal golf courses enjoy certain competitive advantages, like not paying property taxes, or not having to pay for a liquor license. That could be a 6-figure cost in some states where our members that aren't municipal have to lay that out. And so there are realities that make it a little frayed or a little static in there. But when you look at the market, there still needs to be affordable places to play, to learn the game and just get out there and beat a ball. And municipal golf predates a lot of our members. They've been around for 100 years, or more. And so it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics here, what happens in the next 10 or 20 years as far as the profile of courses in our industry and how things are shifting. But I thought that was interesting that we're seeing this uptick in development. Not surprising based on the exuberance around golf during the COVID time for sure. Any further thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a bunny slope. You know what I mean? I'm a par 61 golf course. And why in the world would Don spend $500,000 putting in top tracer? Because I think golf's the answer. This is the cure. I see families out there. I see 3 generations of people out there in the top tracer, and I'm trying to get them from a restaurant to a bay to a fairway. So there's no reason why golf courses like me can't be successful. You just got to stop putting the PGA Pro behind the counter. Put some young kid back there. I mean, the point of sale systems are pretty good now. I'm not all in about, maybe not going into the shop and going straight to the first tee. I still think there's an experience inside the golf shop and there's a friendly nature in which, I want to talk to people. But we have Will Robbins. We had Will on the show. The days of one-on-one lessons and paying $2 a minute or whatever it is, they're gone. Stop doing it. I mean, if you need to do practice sessions, you need to get them on the golf course playing. You got to get them in groups with cohorts so they feel like they're doing this together. It's that's what I'm most worried about. That's what I'm going to do for the next 2 years and beyond as an officer of the PGA is get our golf professionals to get golfers on the golf course and get them playing the game and stop. The video analysis is great, dude, but I'm not trying to win a championship. I'm just trying to be a good husband, a father, a friend, and play golf with people that I love.
Okay, so listen, a good segue on the kind of automation, self check-in kind of stuff, because I think it'd be the responsible thing to talk about this with a labor shortage, in our industry, things changing. I took my 16-year-old son to the doctor the other day. Pretty big, healthcare facility, and we checked ourselves in, walked up to the kiosk, had to verify our appointment, what have you, printed out a ticket. The ticket, we go up to the second floor to rheumatology, go over there and essentially wait for someone to, come get us. But it was a self check-in process. There was a human being behind the counter if you needed that help. And that's like the airline metaphor too, is you go to check in at the airport, you got the kiosk to the right, you got Susie to the left. Do you want to get in line and talk to Susie to help you, or do you want to check yourself in and even print out your own bag tag and tag your own bag and bring it to the right place, right? So, I'm encouraging the exploration of this for sure, the stealth check-in. Where can we automate? But I will say, I'm not all in on it necessarily. The Wall Street Journal had an article several weeks ago that about what we lose when companies make things easier for consumers, right? Is easy the answer all the time, or what if there was a slowdown in the process for the sake of interacting with a human, and what's the benefit of that, right? So it's a debate that we're going to have, but I certainly think there are opportunities for the experienced golfers like you and I. We don't need to go through the same exact process every time in a golf experience to check in and get to the first tee or whatever it might be, that someone who's new to the game needs to as well. So I think there's going to be more learning and more talking about where to automate, where to do self check-in, or where to, ordering food and beverage out on the facility. How do we make it easier to do it myself and have it delivered versus waiting for the bev cart to show up 6 holes from now? There's going to be ways to keep improving the customer experience on this, and I want to keep looking out for those.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate S. Potter's comment right there of, just the on-course experience. But, if we're using technology, right, and that's encouraging relationship, right? I mean, if Mr. Smith checks in and the starter knows that and says, Mr. Smith, and then it pops up on his little iPad at the starter stand of the last time this person played, or a picture of them, or, what I mean? If we really got good at the CSM stuff, then we could create an experience where every day you're like at a private club. I mean, that would be cool, right? I mean, we know that information's in the point of sale right now of how often somebody's played, or if they haven't played in a month. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? Hey, Mr. Smith, man, you haven't been here in a month. How you been? Is everything going well? And I see you checked in online. Did you want to get some golf balls? Looks like we're right on time with the tee. My name's Don, and just let me know if you need anything. The restaurant's got some hot coffee if you want some. If that creates this touch, I'm great. I don't mind them checking in, as long as they can't go through the whole process without some human interaction, other than, the outside service guy taking their cart when their round's done. I mean, that would be bad. Let's get golf professionals out there. Let's get customer service specialists out there. Then I'm okay with the automated features. But there's got to be some way to become sticky, and relationships are sticky. Relationships last.
I appreciate that for sure. We talk about golf connecting and being the great connector. It doesn't happen without human beings making those connections and making it a wonderful experience. So we can't turn it into a robotic experience for sure. Final question for the show for this year. All right. So looking down the road, Mr. Weatherman, 2023, are you planning for sunny? Well, you're in Arizona, so let's pretend you're in the middle of the country. Are you planning for sunny weather or cloudy weather in 2023? And what are you doing about it?
Well, hey, even in Arizona, the El Nino or El Nina is something I look at the Farmer's Almanac every year, because believe me, you start getting some rainouts in these 100 days that I have to make money, it'll impact you, because the weatherman's still not helping us sometimes. It's always partly cloudy, not partly sunny, right? I mean, so no, I think it's going to be sunny. I think everybody should expect the rounds to go down, maybe 1% or 2%. I don't think much more than that. I think our rate's going to keep us making more money than we have in the past. But eventually there's going to be some money fatigue. There's going to be pricing fatigue out there when everybody's like, wow, I'm paying more at the pump. I'm paying more for food and bread and water and all these things. So we're going to have to we can get close to commoditizing golf the wrong way. It's like now we're making more money than ever before. We always worried before that we were all competing by price. Now we're charging too much. Are we going to give them some value? Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. And to me, it's going to be sunny, but it could get cloudy real fast if you get greedy out there and aren't building the relationships.
That's the response. You've been in business for a while. That's a responsible thing, is to plan for both weather patterns, right? I think that's the way we got to go.
Well, don't cut back on staff. I mean, that's where I'm saying people, if revenues start to go down, now all of a sudden it's so easy for us to fall into habits because we're all like our mom and dad, even though we never wanted to be. And so when it starts to hit and we don't hit our numbers because we're down 1 or 2%, we're going to start going, well, let's cut back on labor because we can't affect cost of goods sold because food is food. You are making a big mistake if you don't look at your golf staff as a cost of goods sale. It's not salaries and wages. If that person is investing in people on the range, on the first tee, on the golf course, and you start looking at them as a cost of goods sold, you'll start viewing your businesses differently, and you won't cut it out because you know it makes you money, doesn't cost you money.
Love it. That's a great message. So, all right, to close out here, I just want to give a big thank you to the NGCOA team for sure. I call them the best association team in the business. To the production crew at Golf Business Live, thanks for a great year and for making this show possible. To our members and viewers, we appreciate you. And Don, happy holidays and happy New Year. I'm going to check in on you with those New Year's resolutions and see how they shape up.
I'm putting them together now, so I'll be ready to make sure that they are things that I can achieve. I don't want them goals that I can't do. But hey, I think we've been doing this for 3 years.
It'll be 3 years in April.
Start right in the middle. Isn't that crazy? I mean, we were doing them every week when it happened, and I just hey, no one else is doing this, Jay. The NGCOA steps up. I love what you write on LinkedIn. You challenge point of views. I think as a CEO of a big organization like the NGCOA and an organization that wants to make a difference, just like we all do, but you tend to stick your neck out more than most. And sometimes, you make some people mad, but brother, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I was on that board. I sat on that board, and I know how you're challenged to make sure that everybody hears from the golf course owners because we are the ones who sign the fronts of the checks. And so I applaud what you're doing and the organization's doing. I love your board members. I miss them so much, but I just applaud them because they're a small association when it comes to members, but they're big on the impact of where this game's going. I applaud you for that, brother, and I can't wait to see you in Orlando.
Thank you, Don. To everybody, we'll see you in January. Take care. Have a great holiday.
Merry Christmas.